Tii Item 498, August 30th, 2020. iOS 14 and 13.7 betas, iOS 13.6 Goldmaster. In this episode, we talk about iOS and iPadOS 14 and 13.7 betas and iOS 13.6 not beta, WWDC 2020 keynote, Epic Games versus Apple, privacy in iOS 14 and podcasting, some rumors, plus listener feedback and more, all covered in depth starting after the intro.
Welcome to Today in iPhone.
I like it a lot.
Today in iPhone.
Hey, cool!
Oh yeah!
My beautiful iPhone, which I never have out of my hand and that I do everything with and has become an extension of who I am.
Today's episode is brought to you by Eero. Go to Eero.com/TII and enter promo code TII at checkout to get free overnight shipping with your order. Welcome to the show. I'm your host, Rob, and you are listening to the Today in iOS podcast. First up, I want to thank Jeff for sending the music here in the background. Jeff wrote, "Hi, Rob. I made this song called Blacktop with my iPhone using the Garageband app. For free downloads and more music, follow me at JeffJ6 on Twitter. Regards, Jeff J." Thanks, Jeff, for the music. And folks, I will put the full song at the end of the episode. Also want to thank Ben for sending in the artwork for today's show. Ben wrote the following. "Hi, Rob. This is some artwork I created for the show. I use the apps Photoshop Touch and Luminance. Love the show. Regards, Ben." Well, thanks, Ben, for sending this in. And folks, you can see this artwork in the free Tii App via the bonus button for episode 498 or at Instagram.com/TodayInIOS and also at Facebook.com/TodayInIOS. If you have some artwork and or music that you have created on your iOS device that you would like to share with the audience, please email to me at todayinios@gmail.com and please make sure to include which app or apps you use to create said artwork and or music. Well, since last call, lots have happened, but let's start with the Apple quarterly conference call at the end of July. Apple announced revenues of $59.7 billion, that's versus $53.8 billion a year ago quarter and $58.3 billion last quarter. Total cash on hand is $193.6 billion, up $800 million for the quarter from $192.8 billion. Last quarter sales. iPhones, $26.4 billion in revenue versus $26.0 billion in the year-ago quarter, so up a little bit, and down a little bit from $29 billion the quarter before that. iPads revenue, $6.6 billion versus $5 billion a year-ago quarter, so up quite a bit there, and versus $4.7 billion the previous quarter, so up a little bit there. Macs, $7.1 billion versus $5.8 billion a year ago, very nice uptick, and versus $5.4 billion last quarter, so again, uptick there on Macs. Wearables, $6.4 billion versus $5.5 billion a year ago and $6.3 billion the previous quarter. And services, $13.2 billion in revenue versus $11.5 billion in the year ago quarter, so real nice uptick there, but down a little bit from the previous quarter at where it was $13.3 billion. Apple said new iPhones will be a few weeks later this year than normal. So they did announce that or mention that in the call. So we're not going to be seeing them in September. June's quarter was a record for revenue for that quarter, up 11% from the year ago. Revenue grew in each of the geographic sections. And Apple announced a 4-for-1 stock split. So for every 1 share of Apple stock you had, you now have or will soon have 4. Better than expected demand in May and June is what Apple saw versus what they were thinking they would see with the pandemic. And they did see double-digit growth for both Macs and iPads versus the year-ago quarter. Services up again, strong quarter there, and they doubled services revenue in 6 months prior to their schedule. So they had announced a while back that they were going to double in like 3 years the revenues, and they did it 6 months earlier than expected. iPhone 11 is still the most popular iPhone by sales, and the iPhone SE is doing really well last quarter. So they announced that did pretty well, and that was a new iPhone SE, so that's why that one's doing so well. My wife has it, and she actually really, really likes it. She'd like it more if it had a headphone jack, though. All things said, even if there wasn't a pandemic, it would have been a solid quarter. Apple did really well, and better than, as they said, their expectations, and much better than the street's expectations. Now, I'm not going to go over why there hasn't been an episode since June. I kind of gave a heads up on that before the last episode, or during the last episode. I'll go over it in more detail at the end of this episode, but I'm not going to go over it now. Right now, I want to talk about WWDC. And normally I would get into a lot of detail, but again, having not done an episode since June, there's lots out there already about it and in very fine detail. So we don't need to get into it line by line and everything that was said. But I do want to go over my personal top 10 items from WWDC, things that I like the best and why. Translate. Number 1, I love that new addition. It's a universal translator, and while Apple says right now it's just for 11 languages, which includes English, Mandarin Chinese, French, German, Spanish, Italian, Japanese, Korean, Arabic, Portuguese, Russian, and Klingon. Okay, maybe not on that last one, but you just know somewhere deep in one of Apple's R&D labs, one of the engineers has a version that converts between English and Klingon. You know it. Please, if you're that engineer, send me a beta of it. Translate will allow you to translate between 2 languages. You turn your phone sideways and you speak and say whatever it is you want to say, where's the bathroom? And as you say it, on one side, it shows in English what you're saying. And at the same time, on the other side, it translates into another language. Yes, it is a universal translator. Well, for 11 different languages to start, and maybe Klingon. Translate to me is the biggest new feature that's native in iOS 14. I really, really like that new feature, if you haven't guessed already. Number 2, finally, death to the iPhone hijacking your phone syndrome. You know, when you're in the middle of something really important, like Angry Birds, and the call comes in from somebody, like a telemarketer, and it takes over your whole phone. Now, when a call comes in, you get a notification to answer it, and you can keep doing what you're doing if you don't want to. But it's a little notification rather than the whole screen takeover. Number 3, picture-in-picture video. This is the one my 2 kids like the most. They're on YouTube way too much, and now they can stay on YouTube watching the video while they go to the home screen and check out another app or text message from a friend or whatever it is. Number 4, app clips. It seems like it could be useful if not overly used, and we'll get into app clips in a future episode, but that was one of the things I did like. Basically, it's just like a app light. It's a small part of the app. But, going to the iPad OS, Scribble. This is where you can hand write into a text field. This one, I really am looking forward to using. Number 6, I love they added the shapes feature, and this again is staying with iPad OS, where you could try to draw a shape and you hold at the end of the drawing and it then fixes the shape to clean up that not so straight lines or not so circle-ish circle. And then number 7, spatial audio, and this is coming for the AirPod Pros only. So not sure if it will make me motion sick or not, but it's supposed to be kind of 3D immersive audio, which could be really cool, or again, could just get me motion sick. Then it would not make the top 10 if it does the latter. Privacy is number 8. Privacy, privacy, privacy. I like what Apple announced, especially knowing now specifically what privacy intrusions each app will be doing to you. Apple will rank apps on the level of privacy intrusion from the most passive, being like, a temperature scan at the airport, to the most intrusive, being like a colonoscopy. So Apple did a lot with iOS 14 on the privacy side. We'll talk about that more in a few minutes. Apple TV being able, this is number 9, Apple TV being able to show you who is at your doorbell. Hope that works with the Ring doorbells. Number 10, Apple TV Plus, the television show Foundation from Isaac Asimov. Looks fantastic. So they showed a trailer. If you haven't seen it, definitely go see it. Bonus item here, watchOS 7 has a hand wash neg feature. So if you're washing your hands, it tells you that you need to keep on washing. And then there's also sleep tracking that was added, plus sharing custom faces, which does that mean we can create custom faces for watchOS 7 now? No real mention of AR anywhere in the event, which I probably should have made the top 10 when I think about it, which was nice. I'm not a big AR fan. My son Porter did want me to say this. He really loves the new widgets and the varying sizes of them, and he said I needed to mention how cool they are and how well they work. and it's his favorite is the battery widget, because now he doesn't need to swipe down anymore to see his battery life as a percentage. A couple of more random things here. Per Maps, Apple is adding cycling to routes, which includes showing inclines, starting with a few cities at the beginning, but will roll out to more over time. And they also added EV, electrical vehicle routing for maps, supports for BMW and Ford to start, but not Tesla, interestingly. I'm sure that's an oversight. And by the time my Cybertruck comes, they will have that issue worked out. Apple said for CarPlay, 97% of all new cars in the US are supported and 80% of new cars worldwide. Also, there are new wallpapers for CarPlay. Not sure how that's going to work. Speaking of cars, the oft-rumored car keys, which they actually said will be rolling out with iOS 13.x, which wound up being 13.6. And to start with, works with one new BMW model that was announced. The WWDC 2020 sessions are free, not just the keynote, but all the sessions are free for the 23 million developers and everyone else for that matter, from what I can see. And with the iPhone being pushed out, it is very, very likely iOS 14 will not launch until when the iPhone launches. That's just my speculation. Others are saying it's going to launch right on time and it's going to be 14.1 when the phone launches. We'll see. Expect mid to late October for the launch of iOS 14 Goldmaster. That I do. I expect it right around, mid to late, right around October, 13th, somewhere around there. For iOS 14 to go Goldmaster. Next episode, I will dig into iOS 14 in more detail, but here are some thoughts on WWDC and iOS 14 from Justin in Pennsylvania.
Hello, Rob. Justin in Pennsylvania. I wanted to call and give my impressions on WWDC announcements. Overall, I think there was so much. I can't believe how much they could announce that didn't involve new products. I'm very, very happy with the iPhone edition. I think widgets, the way they did it, look cool. Still looks like iOS, doesn't look like Android, which I like, obviously. And I'm glad they added it. I also really like the app library, which is sort of like their take on the app drawer that Android has. And I think theirs looks cleaner than when I've seen it on Android. I'm very happy with some Android-y features coming in, but looking like iOS. I really like what they're doing with AirPods and AirPods Pro, because it gives you another reason to think about AirPods Pro with the spatial audio thing. I think that's really neat that they're updating the actual products like that. I don't remember them updating things quite the same way, like something like an earbud, but hey, it's really cool that they're doing it. I've not been a big Mac user, but them making their own chips really makes me want to know what the pricing will be when they finally come out. I think it's going to be something really interesting to see, like Apple making their own silicon. It's going to be amazing to see how fast they are. I know it's the iOS show, but a lot of people use Macs too. Overall, I think I'm most excited about widgets. I'm glad Siri doesn't take up the whole screen anymore. I like how they're handling the phone calls now. So it's like a little notification instead of it just taking over your entire screen when you're in the middle of something and accidentally clicking. I don't know how many times I've accidentally picked up the phone when I didn't want to because the whole screen lights up. I'm glad they're finally doing that. Honestly, they just keep deleting those old things that have been on jailbreak for a long time. iOS just keeps getting better and better, and honestly, I can't think of what I want next. They're added so much this year. Last year was underwhelming. This year was so much stuff for iOS. It's really exciting. I'm tempted to want to do public betas. I'll let you know and give reviews if I decide to destroy my phone for the next couple months. But overall, I love the show. Can't wait to hear what you think about the WWDC and what other people think as well. Have a great day. Look forward to the next episode. Have a good one. Bye.
Justin, thank you for that feedback. Now, Justin also sent in a few different feedbacks on iOS 14 betas, and I'm going to go to his last one when he goes over iOS 14 beta 2. I think this was from around July 10th when he sent it in.
Hey, Rob. It's Justin in Pennsylvania. I wanted to call and do another update on the beta for iOS 14. There's this new accessibility feature called Back Tap. And when you do it, you can set shortcuts. You can set certain actions. If you tap on it, it'll do it. So now I don't even have to say anything. I can literally tap on my phone and get the Google Assistant for the things it's better at answering, like that tap motion to be anything. You can set it to shortcuts. You can set it to take a screenshot. You can set it to launch any app you can think of if there's something you use all the time. I think this was designed for people that have limited motor skills, but it's a feature for everybody, and it's so nice. And like only Apple does this. Only they add these features that are so awesome. I mean, it's a little touchy at first for right now. I've had things launched just from setting my phone down. There is some things that I think need to be worked out on it. We are still in beta, of course. But the fact that I now have HUI Siri and the Google Assistant at my disposal is so much nicer, and it's so fast. Like, you tap it and Google Assistant launches, it's immediately listening to you, it's immediately taking your thing, it gives you the answer. Like, I have some lights set up in my house through the Google Assistant, and I can do that on my phone, like it's an Android phone, but it's my better Apple phone. Every time there's things that get added that you never asked for, but then when you see what you can do with them, it's like your phone becomes that much more useful, not much more indispensable. That's my new tip from iOS 14 for the day. Back tap. It's really cool. I think whenever you guys can get it, I think you're really going to like it. Thank you very much, Rob. Have a great day. Bye.
Justin, thanks so much for the feedback. Now, there were some dropouts I had to clean up there, so there's a couple things I might not have gotten out that, Justin, you were hoping, but I think I cleaned it up such that it made sense. Folks, if you have some feedback on iOS 14 betas, what your favorite new features are, please give us a call, 206-666-6364. That's 206-Moondog. Or better yet, record it on your iOS device and then email to me at todayinios@gmail.com. Today's advertiser is longtime sponsor, Eero. The reason there has not been an episode since June is we just moved. It was a chaotic move. We decided around June 10th to sell our house and move to Nashville. We pulled it off, and we're out here by July 26th. Yes, staged, listed, sold, packed, and moved in less than 7 weeks in the middle of COVID. In that chaos of packing quickly, the Eero was placed in a box that was not labeled. At our rental townhome that we're in temporarily, we had Xfinity put in place, and they gave us a wireless router. And so I thought, okay, I'll give it a try. We'll see how it works. It needed to be placed in the basement level where my office is. The Xfinity person said, it would work fine throughout the entire townhome. No. There was no reception on the second floor at all, where my kids' rooms are. And it kind of sort of worked on the main level. It was not something we could live with at all, period. So hunting for the Eero, I went. I had to dig through more than a few boxes. Thankfully, I found our Eero mesh network, although if I hadn't, they have next day shipping. I set up the base unit in the basement, 2 beacons on the main level and 1 on the second floor, and now the whole townhome has fast internet. Our Apple TVs in the bedroom work great. There is no buffering or stuttering of videos. All are very happy thanks to Eero. Eero, an Amazon company, blankets your whole house in fast, reliable Wi-Fi, eliminating poor coverage, dead spots, and buffering. You'll have a consistently strong signal wherever you need it. And these days, with everyone home and needing some space, it's nice to know I can go anywhere in my house and townhome now and not just get a connection, but get a fast connection. And it just takes a few minutes to set up your Eero. It plugs right into your router, and you manage it all from a drop-dead simple app. The app lets you pause the Wi-Fi for dinner, and you can get alerts if any devices attempt to join your network. Eero is the best Wi-Fi I've ever tested. It solved the issues at my rental townhome of no or spotty coverage, and for a limited time, you can get 20% off selected Eero models. We are asking a lot of our Wi-Fi these days. Eero can help yours do more, and you can get your Wi-Fi issues fixed as soon as tomorrow. Go to Eero.com/TII and enter code TII at checkout to get free next day shipping with your order. That's EERO.com/TII and enter promo code TII at checkout to get your Eero delivered with free next day shipping. You must use the URL to receive this offer. Again, that is Eero.com/TII, promo code TII. Thanks, Eero, for supporting the show. Back to iOS 14. And one feature I also love about iOS 14 is the privacy feature, where it forces apps to ask you to opt in to share your data with other apps. Facebook, who, as you know, on the scale of privacy, is the exact opposite end as Apple, well, they released a post talking about iOS 14 titled, "Preparing Our Partners for iOS 14." And in it, Facebook admits that iOS 14 privacy features would impact Facebook and its partners heavily, which is music in the ears of those of us concerned about individual privacy rights. With iOS 14, Apple will require people to actively opt into ad tracking, how it should always be. Thank you, Apple. You will now get a message that says something like, quote, "Evil Corp would like permission to track you across apps and websites owned by other companies. Your data will be used to deliver personalized ads to you," unquote. Of course, you want to say no thanks if you care about privacy, because it's not just about delivering ads at this time. It's about them building a profile on you and storing that info. Sadly, I do not see podcast listeners getting this option when using the Apple Podcast app, where a lot of tracking and stalking of listeners is going on via third parties outside of Apple's control these days. Which is where I need to give major kudos to Marco Arment, the developer and owner of Overcast, creator of Overcast. He just introed a new feature in the latest beta of Overcast that lets you check the privacy settings of podcast providers that podcast is using and the partners to see what you're dealing with. Sadly, in podcasting, there are many companies starting to stalk and track listeners without their knowledge at all. And Overcast is the first app to call them out. Hopefully others will follow suit. Hear that, Apple? Just note, any podcasts hosted on Libsyn will not track listeners. Libsyn is the most pro-privacy podcast host in the space, period. And listening to the show will not impact your privacy at all, regardless of where you live. The same definitely cannot be said for any shows, for example, hosting on Megaphone or Art19. They both partner with services that stalk listeners and will have done press releases celebrating that. Boo. Per listening to podcasts, if you want the most security, use the Overcast app once the beta goes live to Goldmaster, and then check each podcast on that you plan to listen to and see where they host. If they're on Libsyn or Blueberry, you'll be fine. But those on Megaphone or Art19, there's a strong possibility your data is being shared and stored. And for full and fair disclosure, I work at Libsyn. Back to Facebook, they are not at all happy with iOS 14 and have taken swipes at Apple recently. But ultimately, it is the actions of someone desperate when looking at the harsh reality that people actually care about privacy, and Facebook's business model is basically built on collecting and sharing data, often where the users had no idea their data and info was being shared. But outside of listening to podcasts on Apple Podcasts, iOS 14 will be a much more secure and privacy-minded rollout. Hopefully, Apple applies these privacy rules of opt-in to the Apple Podcast app in the near future. In the meantime, update to Overcast if you care about privacy and want to see which podcasts you will get tracked from. Now, note, it's not where it forces you to opt in to be tracked over an Overcast yet, but what it is when you go and search for a podcast there, in the new version of Overcast, it's not live yet, but the beta, how it will be when it's live, is that you can click to see what the privacy policies and tracking policies are going on and what companies they're hosted with and which other partners are tracking ads and stats. So again, Overcast will have that feature soon. And before you go and listen to a cannabis podcast or a podcast on mental health or anything else you don't want people knowing that you're listening to, you can check and see if it's safe or not to listen to them. Hint, stay away from anything on Megaphone or Art19. Another iOS we can talk about now is iOS 13.7 beta. That is the current beta for the iOS 13.x series. So what is big in this update is the support for COVID-19 exposure notifications without needing to download an app. Here is what Apple had to say. iOS 13.7 lets you opt into COVID-19 exposure notification systems without need to download an app. System availability depends on support from your local public health authority. For more information, see covid19.apple.com/contract tracing. This release also includes other bug fixes for your iPhone, unquote. Back when Apple and Google both announced COVID-19 contact tracing, they said there were two phases. iOS 13.5 was phase 1 for Apple. That required users to first download an app. This new update, 13.7, is the second phase for Apple. If you follow the news, you know in the US, we are fracking up the testing, well, just as bad as humanly possible. And only a few states currently are taking advantage of this offering from Apple and Google. Those states, give some kudos to, are Alabama, Arizona, Nevada, North Dakota, Virginia, and Wyoming. Pennsylvania and South Carolina also said they would participate, but do not appear to be doing so yet. It says pending. So 6 of 50 or even 8 of 50. Either way, it is sad after all these months that is where we are today. What is the joke my friends in Europe like to tell me? What borders on stupidity? Answer, Mexico and Canada.
Hi, Rob. This is Bob from Columbia, South Carolina. I was real psyched about the COVID tracking app for South Carolina, the fact that South Carolina was involved, but I've been let down. The app is not available yet, so you cannot actually track in South Carolina as of today, the 7th of July. So maybe in the next 30 days, whether we'll need it then or not, we'll have to wait and see. But I just want to let everybody know that it is not available in South Carolina yet. Take care.
Bob, thanks for the feedback. And still not available in South Carolina, but again, the sites do say it's pending and coming soon. I should mention, since the last episode, iOS 13.6 also launched, which brought car keys and Apple News plus audio features plus more. There was also some new health features in it. If you have not updated to iOS 13.6 or iPad 13.6, then release the hounds. Per what comes with iOS 13.6, here is what Apple had to say in the release notes, and I will paraphrase a little and try to get through it quickly. iOS 13.6 adds support for digital car keys, introduces audio stories in Apple News Plus, and contains new symptom categories in the Health app. This release also includes bug fixes and improvements. Digital car keys. With digital car keys, you can lock and unlock, start your compatible car with your iPhone, as long as it's a BMW right now, securely remove digital keys from a lost device via iCloud, share digital keys easily with iMessage, driver-specific profiles so you can configure shared keys for full access or restricted driving, and Power Reserve lets you unlock and start your car from up to 5 hours after your iPhone runs out of battery. Apple News. Audio stories are professionally narrated versions of some of the best reads from Apple News Plus, selected and produced by the Apple News editors as part of your Apple News Plus subscription. Apple News Today is a new free audio briefing on the day's top stories from Apple News editors, also available in the podcast app. And a new audio tab makes it easy to find Apple News Today and Apple. All right, News Plus audio stories. Let's see. Here we go. CarPlay allows you to listen to Apple News Today and Apple News Plus audio stories while on the road. So a little tie in there. Local news in your Today feed provides extensive coverage of San Francisco, the Bay Area, Los Angeles, Houston, and New York City. More stories available from local news providers with a subscription to Apple News Plus. And your daily newsletter from Apple News can now be personalized with stories that reflect your interests. And then under Health, they say the new category for symptoms in the Health app, including symptoms logged from cycle tracking to ECG. And then ability to log new symptoms like fevers, chills, sore throats, or coughing. I wonder what that coughing one could be for. And share them with a third-party apps. This also includes bug fixes and other improvements. Adds a new setting to choose if updates automatically download to your device when on Wi-Fi. Addresses an issue that could cause apps to become unresponsive when syncing data from iCloud Drive. fixes an issue that could cause data roaming to appear to be disabled on eSIM even though it remained active, addresses an issue that could interrupt audio when making phone calls over Wi-Fi calling, fixes an issue that prevented some iPhone 6s and iPhone SE devices from registering for Wi-Fi calling, resolves an issue that could cause the software keyboard to appear unexpectedly when connected to certain third-party hardware keyboards, fixes an issue that could cause Japanese hardware keyboards to be incorrectly mapped as a US keyboard, addresses stability issues when accessing Control Center when assistive touch was enabled, and provides a mechanism for administrators to specify domains to exclude from traffic carried by always-on VPN connections. And there we go. Again, release the hounds on updating iOS 13.6 and iPad 13.6 if you have not done so already. I received a letter from Epic Games, which is sent out to lots of people. It started off with this, quote, Apple is blocking Fortnite updates and new installs on the App Store and has said they will terminate our ability to develop Fortnite for Apple devices. As a result, the Chapter 2 Season 4 update version 14 did not release on iOS and macOS on August 27th, unquote. And then there was more in the letter and also in posts from Epic, from them making themselves out to be the victim and Apple the bully. And here was my reply back to Epic. Dear Epic Games, please note, you are getting blocked because you chose to break the rules, the same rules all the other developers have to play by. A rule that is in big, bold letters and flashing neon rule. Why do you think you are special? Don't play the victim. The user of the games, my kids, they are the victim. I have already told my kids I will never let them spend another dollar on V-Bucks or anything else from Epic, and they have spent hundreds of dollars in the past. Your decision to break the rules and get your app pulled during the pandemic is disgusting. My kids used your games to social distance with their friends. No more. I have told them to move on to Minecraft, Battlefront, and other multiplayer games. Again, even if you do the right thing in the future and play by the rules, we will never spend another dime with Epic Games. Maybe you should just call yourself Karen Games, because you clearly think you are entitled somehow. Shame on you. Regards, Rob Walsh, host of Today in iOS podcast. There was, of course, no reply to that email or posts on social media to Epic Games. There has been a lot written about this, but at the end of the day, Epic was not a victim here. They knew the rules and knew exactly what would happen when they released an app that broke those rules. They not only knew what Apple's reaction likely would be, they seemed to hope for it. They had a video that they made that mocked Apple's 1984 commercial ready to go and released it the day Apple blocked the version of their app breaking the rules. Epic, again, is not the victim. They are the instigator in this fight. All other app devs play by the rules, and Apple takes their cut and in return provides a marketplace that has generated app devs more money than any other platform for devs ever, period. I joke when I say they should change their name to Karen Games, but really, that is how they are acting, entitled and like they are a victim, when in reality they created this mess and did so in the middle of COVID-19. So now I can't play Fortnite with my kids and they can't play with their friends. And well, shame on Karen Games for this. Shame on them. My kids are now on the Minecraft and Battlefront, or have moved on to those games. And I'm sure there are many others like them that have moved on as well. Moving on to Apple TV Plus subscriptions. Here's an email from the email bag. Hey Rob, my free trial expires on November and I will not renew. Used it rarely. More use from Amazon and Netflix. Regards, Skip. Skip, I just want to say, check out the trailer for Foundation. It might change your mind. I'm looking forward to the next seasons as well for All Good Men and for C. So hopefully Apple seasons aren't delayed too much because of COVID. And again, looking forward to Foundation when that comes out here later this year. Back to the email bag. Rob, per a lost iPhone, you find, and then not yours, someone else's, and ask Siri, whose phone is it? One thing that is a little annoying, though, what information does it actually share with someone who finds your phone? Settings, contacts, my info only lets you select a contact. It never shows you the info it found in that contact entry, nor does it ever show you what information will be made public when somebody finds the iPhone and asks Siri, whose phone is this? Go Pack, Philip. Hi, Philip. Go Chiefs. When I ask my iPhone when it's locked, whose iPhone is this? It says, I believe this iPhone belongs to Robert. And that is it. No other information is displayed. However, if the person that finds it knows what they are doing, that's a big if, they can swipe up to unlock, which it won't unlock. It'll just ask you for the enter in the code. And then you can tap on emergency in the lower left, and then tap on medical ID, also in the lower left. And if you set up your phone correctly, it will show your emergency contact info. In my case, I have my wife's phone number showing, and they can tap on that to call my wife to say, hey, I found your husband's phone that he stupidly lost, right? So make sure in your contact info, you add an emergency contact, and they have a phone number list selected. And then pray if you lose your iPhone, that person that finds it listens to this episode and remembers all of what I just went over. So, again, swipe up, tap emergency, tap medical ID, and you should see the contact information. Make sure it shows a phone number that you can then tap and call. So you can tap and call, and I tested this out, and I tapped and I called my wife without ever unlocking. So I kept it away from my face so it wouldn't accidentally unlock, and that works fine. So make sure you get your wife, your spouse, your mother, your brother, your sister, somebody who can go and get the phone for you, will let you know where you left it. Contact information in there. Back to the email bag. Hi, Rob. Is it true that the new iPhones will not come with headphones? And if so, what's the reason? Thanks, Aaron in Vermont. Well, Aaron, let's go back to the original iPhone. It came with a dock for your iPhone, plus headphones, charging brick, a cord, charging cord, plus a microfiber cord, cloth. And the dock obviously was removed a long time ago, the cloth as well. But the headphones and the charging brick and the cord have been there for all iPhones released to date. But the question is this: does Apple think most people are no longer using their headphones? I've not used my wired headphones for a couple of years now. I use my AirPods. My oldest son, same thing. He has no idea where his wired headphones were when I asked him. I at least know mine are in the box the iPhone came in. Will Apple get rid of the wired headphones? Well, if they think most people are not using them, then yes, I could see them no longer providing them. Maybe they give you 50% off headphones if you buy them within X number of days of purchasing the iPhone. Or maybe they just say F it to you or overall, and they just stop providing them and say it is what it is. Assuming most people will just buy AirPods. That might be Apple's thought process right now. This is a long way for me to say, yes, I think it's possible that this year Apple finally stops providing headphones with new iPhones. But if they do stop that, I think it is a mistake because a certain percentage of users, like my wife, like the wired headphones. So even if it's 30% only still using them, that's 30% that aren't going to be happy, and that's a large percentage.
Hello, Rob. This is Jason H. calling you again. I just spent about 5 hours on the phone with US Cellular about my plan. I had bought an Apple II pencil because I had lost mine again, second time. But I'd used the pencil for 2 days, and then I found my old one, so I tried to return the new one. They did not let me do that. That being said, I was on the phone with them for several hours changing my plan. They gave me a $90 credit and dropped my plan on my iPad by $75 as I was paying over $300 a month towards them for about 18 months, give or take. And that being said, I used to work for them for a while, so I knew how to talk to them, but it did take a long time. Anyways, that being said, when I called in the past about my iPad overheating, I don't remember if I told you about the fact that I did return it to Apple because the battery just got fried. I'm an idiot. I realized was not told by Apple, but I had an OtterBox case on it and I had it plugged into charge, not thinking with a 30-watt Apple charger, and would get frustrated when it would lose charge. Well, come to find out, my iPad was getting so hot, and that's why the screen would dim in and out. It was trying not to fry itself, and me forcing it to do just that. That's why my last iPad quit. So kudos to Apple for one, having that feature in there, even though it frustrated me, and kudos to Apple for doing a great thing, which I feel that I did not deserve, for them to replace my iPad with a brand new one. But anyways, I just wanted to call and give you a heads up, and hopefully that answers some questions. This is Jason H., the no longer angry guy. Talk to you later.
Jason, thanks for the follow-up and feedback on why your iPad screen was dimming, and that it was an issue of it overheating, and that Apple did the right thing and went above and beyond by your accounts and did a great thing and replaced your iPad. So, Jason, thank you for that feedback. Supposedly leaked photos of the iPad Air 4th Gen showing it losing the home button and the bezel at the top and bottom getting much thinner to match that on the sides has been released. It will have the smart connector, which the current iPad Air also has. Nothing shocking there. But it also looks like it might be going to USB-C, which the current iPad Air is not. I wonder if all iPads this year are going to go USB-C. It's possible. Finally, per the release, there are rumors that saying it may actually release prior to the iPhone 12. So the iPad Air, some of the rumors are saying Air 4th Gen and the iPads, new iPads this year, will release prior to the iPhone 12, which right now looks to be announced early to mid-October for an end of October launch. Again, we know it's going to be late based on what Apple said in their quarterly conference call. I would guess Apple would just want at this point to roll the new iPhones and iPads and Apple Watches into one big event, say October 6th. That's a Tuesday. That said, other rumors say while the iPhone will not launch until the end of October, Apple will go ahead with its planned September 10th event to announce the new devices for this fall. There was even one supposed screenshot from Apple's YouTube pages saying the next event will be September 10th. I come back for September 10th for our next event type message. If that is the case, then next week Apple will be sending out invites to let the press know where they can watch virtually the event, because I don't see them inviting everybody into the campus right now. No way. Right now, I'm falling more on the October 6th date for the next event, and it'll cover all new hardware for the fall. One more item on the rumor front. It is being reported that pricing could be $50 to $100 more per equivalent units this year, i.e. top-of-the-line units will be about $100 more than last year's top-of-the-line units, and lower-priced units will be $50 more to similarly configured low-end units from last year. If you have any speculation, ideas, thoughts, what you'd like to see, hopes and wishes for new hardware from Apple this fall, give us a call, 206-666-6364. That's 206-MOONDOG. Or better yet, record it on your iOS device and email it to us at todayinios@gmail.com, or you can always just send us a text message. Well, a text email. Read an email feedback here. Hi, Rob. First of all, thanks for the show. I really enjoy it. Very often, I have a really hard time understanding the voice messages on the show because of the poor audio quality and English not being my first language. You should encourage the listeners to record voice memos instead and email them to you. That will offer much better audio quality than them calling in. Thanks again for the show. Regards, Santiago. Santiago, thanks for the feedback. And again, I do recommend people to send in voice messages however they can, and I would appreciate them either way. But I do agree with Santiago. If you can record it as a voice memo and email it to me, that is going to give the best audio quality. If you are going to give me a call from a phone, make sure you're not in your car driving around. Make sure you're not walking around your house, because that'll cause dropouts. And it's best to make sure you have all bars when you make that phone call as well. Back in January, episode 491, I mentioned a Kickstarter project from Hyper, the HyperDrive Gen2 USB-C hub. Well, I ordered the 18-port version, and it came. Actually, it was delivered 2 days before I moved. Whew. And if you have an iPad Pro USB-C model and want to add a bunch of accessories, this is nice. It also works great with my MacBook Pro. It has ports for USB-A, USB-C, SD cards, headphone jacks, Ethernet connection, couple HDMI ports, a VGA port, digital audio, and more. If you're looking for one good hub for any USB-C device, this one is working out really well for me. It supports 180 watts of power charger into it, so it gets 100 watts out. So it works great powering my 100-watt MacBook Pro, which is hard to find. So again, any USB iPad or USB-C iPad or laptop, this should work fine with. Into the email bag. Well, I'm not going to read these emails. I'm just going to summarize. And this is from Don's, two different Dons sending messages. From Mike S., from Eve, Evan, and a bunch of others. And they're asking, where was the last episode? How come it's taken so long? And I, on the last episode, actually said, hey, I'm sorry that there's not going to be an episode for a little bit. I figured I was going to miss July, and I did. And that was because I was moving. And again, we decided to move, and it was a decision in less than 7 weeks from decision to move. So it was very chaotic. And I apologize that I had to miss a month. And I'm trying to get back more regular. And I apologize for today's audio quality because I'm now in a room that is not acoustically sound. I can't and have not found my sound dampening stuff. And I'm working to find all my equipment. I don't even have a boom arm yet for my mic. Well, I have the boom arm. I can't find the bracket. So lots of things. I have moved. We were in Kansas City for many years. Matter of fact, it was weird changing my location in social media. I've never had to change my location in social media. I've been on social media since I've lived in Overland Park, which is, was 14 years plus. So it was strange moving. I am now in Nashville area, a little south in Brentwood. I moved here, or I should say the whole family moved here for my younger son. He's going to a school here for dyslexia. So we moved for that. And that was the reason why the move. And we made it in time for school to start. And thank you for bearing with me over this period of time while I have been out. So I don't usually talk personal stuff, but if there's anyone here in Nashville, I have already joined the Nashville Podcasters Meetup group. I'll be meeting with them when we get back into personal stuff. And if anyone has any suggestions when things open back up of good restaurants here in Nashville, let me know. Now, I do want to say this one thing. Go Chiefs. Just because I moved doesn't mean I'm not a Chiefs fan. Go Royals. So I'm still a Royals and Chiefs fan. Still watching them. And we'll continue on that. Nothing's going to change there. What's your favorite TV show?
Well, I like watching RBS, the robot broadcasting station. But here are some top human TV shows.
Today's show was again brought to you by Eero, which is by far the fastest and best Wi-Fi I've ever tested. Go to Eero.com/TII and enter promo code TII at checkout to get free overnight shipping with your order. And before we go today, I want to remind you to send in your feedback to the show, 206-666-6364. That's 206-Moondog. Or record your feedback and email to the show at todayinios@gmail.com. The feedback can be a question or comment per something someone said on this episode, or it can be a question or rant you have about something else, an app or product review, good or bad. As long as it's iOS related, it is welcomed. I'm always looking for new artwork to feature on the show that you've created on an iOS device. Today's artwork was created 8 years ago. Just put some TII branding on it and send it in. And of course, we are always looking for more music created on an iOS device to play on the show. This is your show and your feedback is greatly desired. Hey, now in Nashville, I really need that music. Also, don't forget to check out our moderated MeWe community by going to todayinios.com/community. When you go there, you need to request to be added. I have 2 questions. The first one seems to quickly weed out the Android fanboys. I ask, which is the better OS, iOS or Android? And the idiot Android fanboys just can't bring themselves to say iOS. They say either both are Android or whatever, in any case, anything other than iOS, and they're instantly rejected. So yeah, it's a nice, safe Android fanboy-free zone where you can ask questions or post articles about pretty much anything Apple-related. A quick reminder, if you are an app dev or an iBook author, email me if you want your app or iBook featured in the promo giveaway segment for free, which we just need 5 promo codes or more to give away. Simply email me at todayinios@gmail.com, and please include a 60-second or less audio review of your app or iBook indicating you are the dev or the author. Also, when you send in the promo codes, please make sure to let me know when they expire. And finally, check out the Tii app, which is free to you. Search for TII in the iTunes App Store. It is the best way to consume the show and to get push notifications each time a new episode of TI is released. It is fully voiceover friendly, of course, and 100% privacy secure. please go right now and download the Tii app and get the update. Until the next time, I'm your host, Rob, reminding you to social distance responsibly. The show is hosted on Libsyn.com and part of the Libsyn Media Network. If you are looking for podcast hosting, go to Libsyn.com. That is Libsyn.com for hosting for your podcast and creation of your own smartphone app. The Today in iOS podcast can be found everywhere you listen to podcasts. That includes Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Pandora, Overcast, Stitcher, and everywhere else you listen to audio.